Hello everyone and welcome back to Voxel Tales. Dan with you once again, and back over here at the farming area we started setting up last time. So far we've tilled the land and got all the crops planted, but aside from reaping it manually we've got no way of harvesting it all. So I've done a little experimenting in a creative copy of the world and come up with something I'm fairly happy with. Right, let's get the bits together. Gonna need some copper casings, and I'm gonna need more than 3. 1 second. Much better. We're also going to need some mechanical harvesters. Should have everything we need to quick craft them. God dang it. At least it's only 4 this time. Right, let's lay those out where they're going to live. I did toy around with the idea of making the harvester 16 blocks wide so it could get everything in one go, but it would have meant it needing to be massive to not look unbalanced. Which, from a functionality standpoint, wouldn't have mattered at all. But I like to make things look at least somewhat plausible, so there you go. Okay, next we'll need the stone cutter from storage. And it's not in here, which means I've left it laying around somewhere. And because I'm too lazy to go looking for it, I shall make another one. And use it to make some of these U-shear truck wheels. I tell you, if it weren't for U-shear having all this stuff available, I don't know where we'd be. There we go, starting to get an idea of the size now. Back to U-shear, and we're going to make some of these soot pipes. 4 should be enough. Look at that lovely curve. You don't get many curves in Minecraft, so it's nice to get one when you can. Right, next we'll need a couple of chests so our harvester has somewhere to store all the crops. No, Dan, not 36. 2 will be plenty. Actually, no it won't, we'll need 4. Because we need somewhere to unload the crops into once they've been harvested. And that also means we're going to need a couple of storage interfaces. Question is, have I been a legend and made some in case I ever need them?
There's 2 right there, Dan. Dan, what are you doing? Are the eyes painted on or something?
No, my eyes are not painted on, thank you very much. We just also need to make another machine to harvest the melons and pumpkins in a bit, so I'm making a couple for that while I'm thinking about it. Alright?
Alright, calm down, I'm just checking.
Right, we'll whack you in there, and we'll save your counterpart until we're ready to unload. Then we'll get these chests on. There and there. Perfect. Honestly, the rest of this is set dressing, so I'll just mini time-lapse it. And go. Boom. Done. Of course, naturally, I've got finished just as the sun's going down, so you can't see it very well. And as the shed is currently quite a ways away, I think for tonight we shall camp out under the stars. Or at least we will once the sun's gone down enough to let me. Does that rub anybody else the wrong way? I'm a grown man. I should be able to get into bed whenever I want to.
You're also complaining about a game that's rated ages 10 and up.
No, fair point. Morning all. Now the sun's on it, we can get a better look. I think it's pretty cute. Kinda looks like it's wearing a baseball cap and earmuffs. No, hello, looks like we've got company coming over. Good day to you, sir. What goodies have you got for me on this fine spring morning? Oh, I see. A lot of heads. I hand on heart forgot that the Microblocks data pack I added from Vanilla Tweaks was the Hermit Heads one. Primarily because we're rapidly coming up on doing this show for a year, and this is the first time a trader has actually had them. But I digress. Let me grab some funds. I ended up buying 1 each of the Hermit Heads. Not sure what I'm going to do with them at this point, but we'll figure something out, I'm sure. Maybe I'll make a Hermit Head wall somewhere. I also spotted these mysterious bundles. I don't normally do blind bags, but I thought, why not? For the people, for the content, and bought 5 of them. They really weren't worth the money. a compass, a name tag, a bit of rotten flesh, 2 spyglasses, an iron axe, 1 iron ingot, an iron helmet, a nautilus shell, and a bit of string. What a waste of money. Yeah, you better leave and all, you rip-off merchant. Anyway, the next thing we're going to do is a bit of a Dan classic, you know, one of those things that Mr. DX sells at. That's right, we're going to make a big box underground. I know. Some of you are wetting yourselves in excited anticipation of a massive subterranean hole. I'm sorry, I'll stop. I should probably just time-lapse it to get it over with.
Or you could, skip it, because it's boring. Like, really boring.
You know, that's twice you've made sense to me this episode, and I'm not sure how I feel about it. Alrighty, I'm back, and as promised, I have made a big underground box. As you've no doubt already guessed, we're going to be moving our harvester around using a hidden underground rail system. So that means I need to run a line of glass from below the harvester to where the rails are going to go. Honestly, I would have preferred this to be some kind of horse-drawn contraption, but I still haven't figured that out yet. Ideally, the Create people would add a function to glue a mob to a train contraption, but there's probably a billion complicated programming reasons why that's not a thing. Or can't be a thing. Anyway, have I got any glass? I have 1 whole pane. Fantastic. Better grab some sand and take it over to the bulk smelter, hadn't I? Alright, this won't take a sec and then we can... Oh yeah! I forgot we made a load for... something, ages ago. Well, I'll happily take that one. Net win! Back at the job site, I whipped up a few glass panes, and ran a glass line in preparation for attaching it to the loco. Next, I got all the rail I had made out of storage. I thought it was quite a lot. Until I ran out just barely past the end of the first of 4 lines that needed to go in. Undeterred, I headed straight to the Create power station to make some more. But there was a problem. Overstressed? Why are you overstressed? I swear, I turn my back for 5 minutes and this thing just stops working. But it looks like everything is working though, albeit very slowly. Hey, so, good news, for once, it wasn't my fault it wasn't working. I updated the versions of the various Create mods we were using for this world, and it all collectively had an aneurysm. Like, all the blaze burners stopped working until I picked them up and put them back down, and random pieces of shaft had broken off in the middle of runs for seemingly no reason. So once I reconnected everything, it all worked properly again. Who'd have thought? Anyway, now the power's back on, I can get my jetpack fueled and make some more track finally. Which meant I could get the rest of the track laid. Oh yeah, I forgot to mention, in order to allow the harvester to actually do its job, I installed a mod that removes a lot of the arbitrary rules imposed by Create, such as how tight of a turn you can use with the rails. This way, if I want something to look realistic, it can. But if I need something to be able to make a sharp 90-degree turn, it also can. Everybody wins. Well, mostly Dan wins in this case. Although, speaking as a representative of Dan, Dan approves this development wholeheartedly. Right, that's got our track down, I can start getting all this connected up. Except that's dangling over the edge. It makes no difference whatsoever that that's dangling over the edge. But I'm going to fix it anyway, because that's how I'm wired. With that important detail corrected, I put down a station and almost immediately realised I needed another one, so the train had 2 locations to loop between. Luckily, I knew exactly where I had a couple going spare. We'll just hoover up all this stuff since we're not using it right now. Alright, we should have everything we need to get this show on the road. Or on the track, as it were. Let's get constructing. You know, if I was smart, I'd take these off the front so it's not filling up while I test it. I must have entered my genius era. Alright, I think that's all glued together. Suppose all we need now is something to drive it for us. Kate's out, because she's practically 100% CPU loaded with decrypting those files we got hold of. And the robot we did have is just a shell in the grind cavern. So I guess that means I'm making a new one. So I whipped up an appropriately green conductor hat and...
Now then, what's all this, eh?
Hi there, I need a train operated.
No problem, Gov. Just point me at the locomotive.
You sound different to the other one.
Bit racist, innit? Suppose we all look the same and all.
Sorry,
I'm just yanking your chain, Gav. It's deliberate production variants to make us seem unique, but we all do the same job.
Oh, right, gotcha.
Alright then, just pass me a schedule and I'll get to work.
Oh, right, schedule. Hang on. One very simple schedule, basically telling the train to make a loop around the track and then unload later, and we were off to the races. Well, it looks like it's going okay. Yep, made the turn as expected. I wish I knew what was causing those graphical errors. It's literally just started this recording session, but I've got no idea what's causing it. That's why I updated Create to see if it fixed it, but of course not. Much as I love this world, it seems to get buggier by the minute. Oh, well I'm going to have to fill in some more land there. Don't want a floating harvester. Right, now we know it works, we can get the blades put back on and give it something to offload into. But before I did that, I decided to install a smokestack so it looked like the exhaust was actually doing something. White smoke, obviously, wouldn't want it to look like we were polluting anything. The offloading point was fairly simple, just a portable storage interface connected to a chest. Wanting to incorporate other mods, I tried making some of these Industrial Revolution item transfer pipes, assuming they'd be perfect to bridge the gap. Right, we're all set. I'll just sleep and we'll do the first proper harvesting pass. The following morning, I couldn't bring myself to send off the harvester without making the other exhaust pipe functional as well.
Damn you, Symmetry. You win this time.
Alright, bud, we're going for a proper run this time.
Nah problem, Gav. Easy as you like.
Okay, there seems to have been a cock-up in the speed settings. At least it's working, I suppose. Once it gets back around, it should just start unloading into this chest. Which of course it isn't doing. I assume it's going to be that pipe's fault. Yep, that's not doing anything. Oh well, I'll just use a boring old hopper and be boring. There we go, now we're going. Boring and going. A few minutes of unloading later and we had ourselves a very respectable amount of produce, so I decided it would be a good time to break for lunch. Hello again everyone, I'm back from lunch and as you can see I've filled in the chasm in the ground so the harvester doesn't float in mid-air while it turns around. Yay! I've been super responsible about it and lit everything up so we don't get mobs spawning and making a racket. I've even been planning to fill up the access hole and put in a copycat trapdoor so that it all matches up with the landscape. In fact, I'll do that right now. There, much better. Hopefully that matches itself up eventually. Nah, I think I just made it worse. No, yeah, definitely making it worse. Just leave it, Dan. Put the dirt back and leave it. It'll be fine. I've also spent a few minutes pushing back the landscape here so it's not such a steep drop-off and blends a bit better into the surrounding area. Still a lot of work to do there though. But that's a job for another time. For the rest of this episode, I want to get power run over here and to get a harvester set up for these melons and pumpkins. Because we seem to have a maxed out crop grown in and ready to be collected. Except for these two stalks which don't seem to want to grow. But you know, whatever. Anyway, that's going to require me to extend the lava pipeline over here and install a steam boiler, which you've seen me do several times before, so I'll get it all done and then flash forward to when we're ready to build the harvester. Cool? Cool. Okay, and that's got the power over to the farm. As you can see, I've squeezed in a level 6 boiler, which should give us plenty of headroom to install other stuff down the line. But for now, let's get this harvester constructed. Hey, that works. Wasn't sure it was gonna do. But now the gantry rail is powered and we can get to building the harvester on top. Excellent. So, first step for this thing would be a gantry carriage. Second step would be to go to the creative world to remind yourself how you've built this thing and then, you know, actually build it. Well, there she is. Gives me World War II bomber vibes. I like it. It's functional with just a little smidge of form. Right, let me set up an unloader and we'll give it a run. Okay, couple of false starts, but I think it's ready. Yes, there she goes. Beautiful. Nothing in there. There we go, harvested. Right, I'll send it back and it should unload at the other end. Perfect, just what we wanted. Empty. And... oh, why haven't you unloaded? Let me just run it again and see if that fixes it. And now it's empty. Good. Well guys, that's gonna do it for this one. As always, thanks for watching. I always appreciate when you do. If you like the show, then why not give us a sub and a cheeky like or a comment? Feed that algorithm. I've been Dan. This has been Voxel Tales. And until next time, remember, be good. And if you can't be good, don't get caught. Bye guys.